I also noticed you changed a term in your budget work. You shifted from using the term mother to birthing people rather than mother. Can you help me get a good definition of birthing people?
Well, I'll check on the language there, but I think if we're talking about those who give birth, I think we're talking about.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the second episode of Point Blank. Wow, I can actually say welcome back because it's too early. This is my friend Jack. He's back again for the second episode of Point Blank. You didn't close the door. Close the door.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, last week's episode and the very first episode of Point Blank with Dryden and Jac went over very well. We talked a lot about, unfortunately, pedophilia and the need for masculine fathers in the home who are Christians, hopefully. So tonight, we're going to be talking about abortion, and I really don't want to go into talking about how and just trying to convince people that a fetus is a life, because for anyone who's not stupid, we already know this. I mean, it's
scientifically proven at this point.
Yeah, at conception for the embryo.
Ask an embryologist.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's actually just ridiculous that people are like, well, it's not a baby until however many weeks, because just this month, actually, or end of November, there was a baby that was born at only 17 weeks and survived.
Wow.
Which is less than half of a full pregnancy, being 40 weeks. So, yes, we already know that the baby inside is a life, especially when we read verses about how before the Lord formed us in our mother's womb, he knew us, he also predestined us, so he knows everyone who's going to exist.
Yep.
And we might touch on it later about how this works into God's sovereign will of all the abortions that have taken place. I think it's about 63 million since 1973 with Roe v. Wade. But I don't want to convince you all that a fetus is a life. We already know that. What I'd much rather talk about tonight is who is behind all of this.
George Soros?
Other than him.
That's a little political.
No, just other than we say, oh, well, it's we need to overturn Roe v. Wade and then things are going to be better. And it's like, well, not really. I mean, things aren't actually going to be better until Christ comes back.
Yeah.
So what's actually behind everything is you get past your eugenics, and you get past Bill Gates and, all the people, I mean, because his father was on the
We're just carrying
Planned Parenthood board, actually. So you go past all that, and what we get to is Satan. So that's really it. That's what I wanted to talk about.
The CEO of Google is actually Satan.
Is actually Satan. I wanted to just discuss biblically who we're actually up against and how he's working. So let me read this. In John 8:44, Jesus explains that Satan is a murderer and a liar from the very beginning. Now, these two are very important that they go together. Because I could just be like that very upset conservative Christian who just starts bashing women for getting abortions, and that could be very insensitive for women who have lost their baby. So the key word in that, other than Satan being a murderer, is being a liar.
Yeah.
Because there has been this feminist
women.
Yeah. There's been a feminist movement that has led to lying to all women that their child is just a clump of cells. So it's not necessarily always the woman's fault. I mean, they are at fault. They are responsible for getting that abortion. It is their choice.
As is the doctor.
Yes. But they're being lied to. They're being told it's a clump of cells. Yeah. They're saying, oh, you can always have children later. They don't talk about the complications that happen during a lot of the surgical procedures. I mean, Kermit Gosnell killed, I believe, 6 women. Just let them bleed to death, and then they didn't call the emergency. They didn't call 911 because then their whole operation would be uncovered that he was doing very disgusting things, and it's amazing. He was very evil, letting women bleed out and dying on the table, and he would give white women the cleaner surgery room and black women the dirty room. Wow. So it was just unbelievably evil. Yeah, so it's just very unfortunate, and I don't want to condemn any woman who's had an abortion because there's always hope in Christ.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about how postmodern feminism, fourth wave feminism, whatever, has lied to them. So
Yeah, let's do it.
let's get into it. Let's see. In 2021, our language has been destroyed. Everything has to be politically correct. On last week's episode, when we were talking about pedophilia, we learned that in Colorado legislature, they're removing the term or changing the term sex offender because of the quote.
It's too offensive.
Yeah, it's too offensive to people who have, committed sex crimes.
Yeah.
So we could just call them criminals, sex criminals,
they
whatever.
They changed it to like persons who've committed sexual incidents or
something like that. I don't know. But as we know, we read in Hebrews that the word of God pierces the heart and marrow and the soul of a person. The Bible doesn't play this beat around the bush with terminology because Jesus straight up says Satan is a murderer and a liar.
Yeah.
He doesn't say like, oh, he's just an unfortunate soul who had a tough upbringing and unfortunately the system was built against him, so he had to do evil, which is what you hear a lot today. No, he's like, no, he's evil.
Yeah.
So I have some verses here, like 1 Peter 5:8. We read that Satan prowls around looking for people to devour. In 1 John 3:8, it says Satan has been sinning since the beginning, which is kind of interesting, is that he was sinning before man was, in as far as chronologically, which is pretty interesting.
Interesting.
1 John 5:19 says that the whole world lies in the power of Satan. Satan's great and number one goal is to destroy, murder, and steal. And then he's a liar, a thief. And one of the best things to do, since I don't know if he's prideful enough to think that he can actually stop God.
He does. He's
does?
actually blinded. From my reading Revelation, he legitimately makes war with God and wants to basically, call out Jesus from the heavens and kill him, basically. He thinks he actually has the power, which is crazy because he was supposedly, basically the paramount angel.
Yeah.
Was he created first or of the first?
He was
given a lot of gifts.
He was the
beauty,
the lead worshiper
yeah, something
of the
like that.
angels.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's wild that we have just normal people walking around that it's like they want to fist fight with God, and it's like, who do you think you are?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So what's saying his end goal is to kill as many people as possible because people surprisingly are one of God's greatest creations. We read verses about how angels ponder the grace that is given to in salvation that is given to humans. I mean, angels have a relationship with Christ, I guess, but it's just a full worship one, whereas we have a more intimate relationship that's too difficult to comprehend.
Not to get in the weeds, but from my understanding, the relationship between angels and God, obviously Satan was cast out of heaven and brought a third of the angels with him, and they were knowledgeable of the sin that they committed, sin being anything that was against God, basically.
Yeah.
So, but they're not offered grace like humans are, but basically, from my understanding, they were knowledgeable of the consequences before that happened, as opposed to humans where we don't have a full understanding of the sin that we commit. Doesn't mean that it's not as damning as it is, but
That is interesting is because pride is kind of at the root of all sin.
yeah,
So when we sin,
that's what
we don't even realize to what effect how bad it is.
Yeah.
How negative it is. Just how holy God is and how bad
idolatry.
we are.
Yeah.
We don't even think about that. But yeah, so Satan's number one goal is to just kill people. Over
take as many people as he can with them.
Yeah.
Lead a bunch of people to destruction. And actually, I think one of the worst things that Satan has done is he's taken people who would otherwise believe in the gospel, and he's given them just enough to get them to believe in something of religion.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like the people who are lost the most are the people who are already in a religion outside Christianity.
Just think of all the Muslims, or the Latter-day Saints, or
they're not
even Catholics.
They're not standing around like an atheist. Just like, I hate God, but I kind of think he's there, and I'll come back to him at some point. Like, you can appeal to an atheist. It's really difficult sometimes to appeal to someone of another religion, where
Yeah.
it's like they're so focused, and it's actually harder for them to change their focus from their religion to Christ sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is difficult. It's always that I've heard this so many times, but there's what's true and what's almost true. You know, it's easy to detect what's instantly a lie, but the almost true stuff is like think of
most dangerous.
Think of Jehovah's Witnesses. They believe that Jesus is separate from God because he's the Son of God, and it's like you're almost there.
Yeah.
This is going to be very difficult to try to
Or Jesus
explain
as
to
a
you.
prophet in in the Muslim religion, but not believing in his deity.
Because they really respect Jesus more than some like acclaimed Christians. I mean, they say Jesus, grace be upon him.
But
you know?
if you actually think about it, it's really disrespectful. You've heard it's like, Jesus on earth, he was either a liar, a lunatic, or Lord.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like he was either lying,
So they call him a liar.
or he's telling the truth. Where it's like, oh, he was great, but yeah, he was misguided and he lied.
Yeah.
It's like, which is crazy because of all the prophecies he's fulfilled. Jesus.
I've been studying all those prophecies.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the end goal of Satan is to lie. You know, we have other religions, but also to kill. And abortion's probably the easiest way to do that because you're not dealing with
weak.
Yeah, get them on the
Yeah.
week. You're not dealing with a face necessarily. You know, it's just I'm just gonna take out what's in my womb.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to define my terms. Abortion's the deliberate killing of a fetus in the womb. So this can be done with surgery, or now it's pretty popular to take pills. And I was reading into this, and abortion's not actually a new phenomenon. It's been going on for all of human history, pretty much, other than child sacrifices, which was with a born child. There were abortions as far back as 1500 BC that were chronicled, and basically there was different ways. You would stand over a steaming pot of boiling onions, and the fumes would kind of kill the baby. So there's different things you could do, and even more recently, I would say, in Britain, women would girdle themselves, like wear those the girdles and kind of squeeze the life out of their baby. But what I want to talk about a little bit more is how postmodern feminism has really just been the most anti-women movement in history. I believe it started out with good intentions, like we want women to vote, we want women to have equal opportunity in the workplace.
Treat them with respect,
Yeah.
obviously.
But what it eventually became is we hate women, we want women to be like men, and we want to kill their babies.
Yeah.
So, that's what's happened is Satan's a good liar. He's good at it because a good woman doesn't want to kill her baby. That would be ridiculous. So he has to lie to women first. And what we have is we have an entire media, an entire education system, entire movies, media, news, education, everything is teaching women that it is better to pursue financial interest,
Yep.
material goods, instead of having children.
Yeah.
Children are a burden.
You can come back to it.
They take so much time. If you want that, you can get it later. You can have a full-time job and a child. We'll take care of your kid in kindergarten. Or you can just abort them and have babies later. I mean, we have companies that part of their healthcare plan is to freeze women's eggs, which I can't imagine that works well. You know, I haven't looked into it too much. I should have more for this episode, but I just can't imagine that messing with that.
And even if it did work, it's such an ethical dilemma. And then even imagine sitting down and telling your child one day where it's like, yeah, I froze the egg part of you, and then we decided to wait and then have you 10 years after that egg would have naturally been fertilized. That's so weird.
It's pretty crazy. I read the article about, I believe, a 27-year-old egg that was born into a person. Kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So I know it can work, but I just morally think it's wrong. And I just think it's a waste of time. Because we're telling women, hey, it's better to be in the workplace. Which, think of it outside the box. Who wins in that situation? Whoever's getting the tax money. If you have men in a workplace and women, you've doubled your population of employees. You're getting more tax money. You're getting more money. So the love of money is the root of all evil. I mean, we're killing kids for monetary reasons, because a lot of abortion is, oh, it's going to be a hindrance on me financially, with time.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hindrance on me. And we as Christians know that that is a person that we're now belittling, putting less than a person
Yeah.
for your own selfish needs and desires.
Yeah. And kind of going back a little bit to our last episode, just belittling kids in general, like not even just downplaying, but completely lying about the fact that children are a burden.
Yeah.
Children are not a burden. They're a blessing, we're told.
We're definitely told that children are a blessing. We're supposed to fill our quiver with children.
Yeah.
But we've basically lied to women that being a mom, it's crazy that being a mom is frowned upon.
Yep.
We see this all the time. Being a stay-at-home mom is frowned upon, according to feminism. And we can see this all over the place. Just watch movies. I have experience in the film industry. I can't name a lot of movies that show a good, strong mother who's just a mother.
Right. Not like I'm a mother, but I also work full time.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of so many Disney Channel shows. Like, off the top of my head, Jessie was about a girl who nannies a whole family while both their parents are just out working.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's so many Disney shows about single kids, or like a single mom who's working all the time, or just a deadbeat dad or a lazy fat dad, and a mom who, like, she runs the house and works.
It's so twisted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've lied to these women, saying that you can do whatever you want, you can freeze your eggs, it's better to pursue money, don't have children, they're going to be a hindrance, and women are starting to regret it. And not only that, the feminism movement has just destroyed mothers. We have basically pooped on moms. We just don't like moms anymore. Feminism movement has also just, it's left women. Because I don't want to get into too much detail. It's not a part of today's episode. But now that men who pretend to be women are considered women and let into California's jails, and now there's babies being born in jail out of rape in a prison where there shouldn't be men. And I'm not going to say biological men, because there are men in every form.
The man in the woman's prisons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to say biological man implies that there's a mental woman, potentially. Sure. You know, so we've ripped these women apart, and now we are seeing it in our politics. Put on your headphones, guys and gals, and let's watch this. So this video right here was, when was this from? This was from June.
I also noticed you changed a term in your budget work. You shifted from using the term mother to birthing people rather than mother. Can you help me get a good definition of birthing people?
Well, I'll check on the language there, but I think if we're talking about those who give birth, I think we're talking about, I don't know how else to explain it to you other than
I was a little taken back when I just read it and saw it, that the term mother was gone in spots and it was replaced with birthing people. And I didn't know if this was a direction that you were going, if there were shifts, if there are regulatory changes that are happening related to that, or what the purpose of that is.
I think it's probably, and again, I'd have to go back and take a look at the language that was used in the budget.
Yeah.
But I think it simply reflects the work that's being done.
Oh, the Satanist work.
Yeah, so that's enough of that video.
Gosh.
Yeah, so
That's just...
So for a little bit more context of that specific video, that is just from a budget report plan thing under the Biden administration. And you can find other clips online from Mother's Day where they are saying happy birthing day.
That's so gross.
There's other definitions, or not definitions, there's other terms being used in Congress where we're saying people with vaginas instead of women. We're saying, or even worse, bodies with vaginas. Like a human...
It's dehumanizing.
Yeah, it's dehumanizing. Forget about their soul. Forget about their mentality. Forget about their spirituality. They're just a body with this specific part.
So what are we celebrating anymore?
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We've already destroyed fatherhood, and now we've destroyed motherhood. There's no difference between the two.
Yeah.
There's no natural difference between men and women and fathers and mothers.
Yeah, what do you call that? Like asexuality, or just what do you call it when
It's even like desexuality. It's nothing. It's nothing.
There's no difference between man and woman.
We're just bodies. Screw these children. Let's abort them. If they are born, there's no difference between a mother and a father. So
Yeah.
let's let gay people adopt,
Ugh.
which rips that child from either their mother or their father.
Right.
If you have two lesbians, there's no father. If you have two gay guys, there's no mother. And that's
Right.
why I'm against homosexual adoption.
Yeah,
That's
it also deprives them of a potential like heterosexual couple too for adoption.
Yeah. Where there could have been a straight couple that would have adopted that child,
Right.
so he would have had a mother and a father. There's now just two dudes
Yeah,
or two women.
Yeah.
And they're going to miss that entire other gender that is so
not
needed
even gonna miss it. They're gonna get it in a completely construed way.
in a twisted way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Biden's administration. So I think there is a huge pushback on this. I mean, we've seen a lot of legislature and Supreme Court cases going on right now. I think it's Cobbs versus Jackson. Is it Dobbs or Cobbs?
I think it's Dobbs.
Dobbs versus Jackson.
Are they made up names to protect people?
I think so. I'm not actually sure.
I think they might.
But this is a very pressing issue, and we see this all the time in media. I found this article on Daily Wire, but it's about an article from The Guardian bashes white evangelicals for their anger over abortion.
We shouldn't be angry about murder, right? Is that they gonna legalize legitimate murder now in the streets? Just call it what it is.
You might as well. I mean, yeah, we're not angry over abortion. We're angry over murder.
Yes.
You know, oh, watch out. I'm sorry for being mad that people are dying
Yeah.
in a terrible way. So this article reads, abortion, which has claimed the lives of 63 million preborn babies since 1973, legally, by the way, provokes some measure of righteous indignation among American evangelicals.
Yeah.
So this progressive journalist believes that they should have the opposite response. In reaction to Dobbs versus Jackson, Women's Health Organization, so it is Dobbs, a Supreme Court case regarding the state of Mississippi's ban on abortions past 15 weeks gestation, Jessica Glenza of The Guardian wrote an article blasting white evangelical anger over abortion. In essence, she argued that state legislators' attempts to restrict abortion access have made 2021 the most hostile year to abortion rights on record, which I think is a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
We should absolutely be hostile towards abortion.
Christians should be on the front lines for actual justice, not social
Yeah.
justice, but actual righteous
Everything
justice.
but violence, pretty much. We should be verbal. We should be actionary. We should be there.
Writing letters to Congress, writing letters to your senators, writing letters to people.
I mean, this is murder in the streets.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
You want to put this on the screen for them?
Yeah, let's put this on the screen.
Just to show them.
The righteous right in the U.S. has been laying the foundations of this decisive challenge to abortion rights for years, she said in the Dobbs case. According to historians and researchers, it has taken decades of political, how do you even say that word, machinations, for the campaign to reach this zenith. The movement has intersected with nearly every major issue in American politics for the past 5 decades, from segregation to welfare reform to campaign finance. Awesome.
Yeah.
We've been killing it for 5 years. Let's see. While arguing that the pro-life movement was born from Republican operatives channeling evangelicals' collective anxieties away from segregation toward defense of the fetus, Glenza observed that the issue of abortion boosted election turnout among American Christians.
Awesome.
And I think that's for good reason. I mean, I being a Christian, was telling my other Christian friends who were thinking about voting for Biden, said, don't vote for Biden. He's going to be the #1 protagonist for abortion
Yeah.
by far.
Yeah.
And then I had some people try to get smart with me and tell me that the president doesn't really affect abortion as a whole.
So you're saying he doesn't lead the federal
Yeah, as if
executive
as
branch
if
of the
our
government?
leader of the U.S. doesn't lead.
Yeah.
You know, and Donald Trump actually was the only president ever to go to a anti-abortion march.
Wow.
Yep. First one to do that. Let's see. Glenza mourned that young, poor people of color will disproportionately suffer
Wait. You mean the people in the womb?
forced to carry unwanted pregnancies to
Oh my
term.
gosh.
Dang it, I want to kill more black babies.
Yeah, that's literally.
Man, I want more black and Hispanic babies dead, but now they have to be born. Dang it. Which is
This bit is just so bad. It's just like.
point blank out of context, Dryden and Jac.
Oh my God.
I want to kill all the black babies. Which, this is so ironic because you look at who founded Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger,
Yeah.
famous eugenicist who Hitler himself looked up to.
Oh my God.
Hitler looked up to this woman who put Planned Parenthood in majority black and Hispanic areas.
Oh yeah, it was concentrated there for.
Because
sure.
she wanted the white race to thrive and to kill black and Hispanic people. And not only that, also disabled people. So it is ironic that this lady is upset that poor young people of color, or colored people, it's the same thing backwards, people of color, colored people, same thing,
Oh my gosh.
will suffer, forced to carry unwanted pregnancies to term. We want to kill those babies. We want to kill those black babies. Oh my goodness. And Margaret Sanger is just gleefully watching this, people supporting this, people thinking that they're winning. And I was reading a book on this in New York City. So this is not for the whole country. These statistics don't apply for the whole country, but in New York City alone, black babies have about a 50% chance of being born.
Whoa.
50% chance of being born. So if you want to talk about racism and you want to talk about Black Lives Matter, what about the black unborn babies? The black preborn babies?
That's really huge.
So, yeah, it's ridiculous that these people are upset that Christians are fighting for life. Let's see, where do I want to go from here? We could talk a little bit more about Margaret Sanger, but you just have to know she's racist. She targeted disabled people and black people. I mean, there's not much to say more about her. Yeah, let's talk about adoption.
Okay.
You know, this is where things get good. This is where things are better. We know that Satan wants to kill, destroy, so abortion is just the easiest way to kill people. But what's actually really nice to hear is that people want to adopt.
Yeah.
People want to see abortion overturned, and people want to adopt these babies. This is from adoption.org. Who adopts the most is mostly older people, and I can pull this up. Older people, majority of people who adopt are over 30. And I can speak to this for my own life. My sister's adopted, so adoption is a totally normal thing.
Yeah.
It's not like my parents prefer their natural born children over the adopted child. No. And I know my sister's adopted, but I've never seen her as anything but my sister.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So older people are adopting. Men are also adopting. More than twice as many men than women adopt. Some are gay couples. Other are men who have previously fathered children. So fathers are adopting. Men who adopt are somewhat younger than their women counterparts, with more than 25% in the 30 to 34 age range. I think that's pretty interesting.
Interesting.
That's something I would look more into. Women who sought medical help to have a baby. So women who are infertile is 10 times more likely to adopt.
Yeah.
And they say that motherhood isn't natural. You know, like, oh, women, they're not the natural caregivers who want children. It's such a lie. God created women to be a empathetic caretaker for children. That's not all they do.
Yeah.
But they're better than men at it. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's no
You
mistaking
have the
that.
physical and psychological bond while if
Yeah.
they're biological while they're in the womb. That's so huge. They have all these stories about babies basically having brain activity when they hear their mother sing, and they have a connection, releasing certain like hormones that actually have a bonding while in the womb, while thinking, while connecting. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Christians, 5% of practicing Christians in the United States have adopted, which is more than twice the number of adults who have adopted. So Christians are twice as likely to adopt than non-Christians. Kind of weird. Interesting, Those mean, evil homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, racist Christians. How dare they? And then in addition, a survey showed that 38% of practicing Christians had seriously considered adoption, while only 26% of all adults had.
Yeah.
And then also more likely to adopt are Caucasians, the racist white people.
Yeah.
The systematically racist and white privileged white people are more likely to adopt than anyone else in the United States of America. 73% are non-Hispanic white adults of all people who adopt. They're less likely to adopt a Caucasian child, which I find is rather interesting. Only 37% of children adopted are Caucasian.
Yeah.
So it's weird that that's something I'd like to look more into than just 2 sentences. But white people are adopting minorities?
Yeah. I feel like there's a small part of this where it's like, if I adopt a white kid, someone's going to ask me, why didn't you adopt a brown kid? Because the stigmatism is that, brown kids are more...
There's no winning with it.
Yeah, no.
If like me, white, if I adopted a white baby, why didn't you adopt a minority child and help them out? Right. If I adopt a black kid, you're a white savior. It's like,
oh my gosh,
you just want to indoctrinate this black kid with your white. It's like there's no winning.
Yeah,
there's no winning. So that is from adoption.org. I also have some U.S. adoption statistics, which I wrote down. There is no national statistic on how many people are waiting to adopt, but experts estimate it's somewhere between 1 and 2 million couples.
Wow.
There's only... that was almost really bad. I almost said there's only 1 million abortions a year. There are 1 million abortions a year. That's a huge number. But there's between 1 and 2 million couples trying to adopt right now, which means every single one of those couples could have a child. Net zero. No abortions, all adoptions.
Yeah.
No one has to die. Every year there's about 1.3 million abortions. Only 4% of women with unwanted pregnancies place their children through adoption. Meaning only 4% of women who get abortions bring that pregnancy to full term, give birth, and then give that child up for adoption.
It's just saddening. The whole thing.
It is sad. And it's all just been based in propaganda, and in media and everywhere. It's all just so selfish.
I think that it comes down to pride, right? Pride is, idolatry, it's selfishness. People think about themselves, just living the lust of their flesh.
It starts out with selfishness because how is a baby conceived? Through sex.
Selfish manner.
So I want to have sex, but I don't want to have protected sex. So now a baby has to die because I wanted, a minute of pleasure.
Yeah.
Not even that long.
Yeah. But you've also seen the videos of actors basically saying, hey, I couldn't be here without standing on the bodies of my 3 unborn kids.
Oh, that was a terrible video. Yeah. Honestly disgusting. And I know for a fact that if anyone who actually disliked me or anyone who was kind of leftist or anyone who was pro-abortion was watching this, they're not watching this. Maybe someday they will.
Sure.
But they're going to say, rape accounts for only 1% of all abortions.
Right. We can have a conversation about that.
We could have a respectful conversation about that. But it's 1%.
Right.
Because here's why that argument doesn't work. If I was to say, okay, I believe in abortion only for that 1%, then they would say, no, we want all abortions. And it's like, no, why not only the rape victims? Don't bring them up.
Right.
Don't bring up rape victims unless you're ready to agree with me that only rape victims can have abortions.
Right.
That's how that argument doesn't work.
I was going to say, that's where I feel like a lot of even Christians sometimes are not even on the same page, where they haven't fully thought through the argument, where it's like, obviously rape is awful, but abortion is worse. So it's like, some Christian will say abortion is horrible, but we'll allow it in cases of rape, incest, whatever. But it's actually inconsistent if you think about it, because what is abortion? It's the killing of an unborn child.
Yeah.
An unborn child who has the full rights of any adult, who's made in the image of God, who's beautiful, who's created, and just waiting to come out and be in the world. But there's these things being made, basically, oh, it's okay in terms of rape and incest. No, it's not. Were those horrible events? Absolutely. Does that automatically mean that you can murder someone because someone else bad happened? That's just two negatives. Mm-hmm. We need to be consistent on this argument that any abortion is murder, and murder is wrong.
Yeah. 100%. Because that's the thing, is like, don't bring up rape if it only accounts for 1%, and you're just not going to like what I have to say anyway. Mm-hmm. What I was going to say is that rape baby is made in the image of God.
Yep.
Just like any other baby. And there's 1 to 2 million couples trying to adopt. Did the baby, was it the baby's fault that man raped that woman?
No.
It's not the baby's fault.
Why would you punish
someone else for the murder of someone else?
Yeah.
Like, if there was a rape, why would we kill the third party?
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense. And there's a big argument with abortion specifically that's helpful when you're talking to someone who is I'd say pro-murder and pro-choice, whatever they want to say, pro-murder, which is trotting out the toddler, where it's like, let's talk about your argument, let's hear what you have to say, but let's trot that out. Would you say the same thing if it applied to a toddler? Well, they're not going to have a good life. Well, can I kill my toddler?
Yeah.
Well, they're poor. I'm poor. Can I kill my kid? Well, it's,
Yeah, I see that all the time.
It's like, take the exact same situation, swap the unborn baby in the womb for a toddler, 2-3 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll actually get some crazy people who say, yeah, kill the toddler. But most people will see the hypocrisy and be like...
And that's why I didn't want to do a whole episode on proving that a fetus is alive, because we already know that. Sane people know that. I mean, like you said, for the toddler example is, oh, well, it's unconscious. Well, so are you when you're asleep.
Yeah.
So is someone in a coma. Oh, well, it depends on its mother for life. So does any baby.
Yeah.
So does me, to some extent, on anyone who helps me. Mm-hmm. We're all connected.
The elderly, the disabled.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
anyway,
we start putting...
I mean, it's actually... I mean, I don't mean to say this disrespectfully, but it's actually really easy to defeat their arguments. It's really easy to say... It is easy. It's just murder.
And that's... Yeah, because we're dealing with ignorance. That's the thing, is we're dealing with...
Well, it's willful ignorance against God and about, just... It's selfishness and all of that.
Yeah, and it's... Like I said, a lot of indoctrination, a lot of media.
Yeah. It's a conscious push.
If
they don't keep it up, nature will revert back where it's like, all right, we should be having, normal heterosexual,
the truth
parents.
Always wins. That's the thing.
Right, it does.
You can't
Christ wins.
Deny truth.
Right.
Like this lady who denied truth all the time until she became a Catholic. This here is... Sue Ellen Broder. This is one of the leading propagandists back during the sexual revolution. So I'm going to read this article because it's actually very interesting. Sue Ellen Broder wrote fake news, quote, before fake news was ever a thing. Except she prefers to not call it that, not because she's embarrassed to admit she wrote fake news, but because she thinks the term fake news is too vague to understand. So she wrote for Cosmopolitan magazine for 20 years. And she wrote propaganda, which she describes it as propaganda. Right. We're not saying it's propaganda. She described it that. So this is kind of her little redemption arc. She's older now. So basically what she said was the goal was to sell women on the idea that sexual liberation is the path to a single woman's personal fulfillment, which we know as Christians, we're not fulfilled unless we're in Christ.
Yeah.
That's really it.
It's obedience. It's we're fulfilled when we...
Obedience and submission to Christ brings fulfillment.
When we participate in the system that God created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Propaganda is very sophisticated, Broder tells the Daily Signal. It's half truth, selected truth, and truth out of context. It's not just used to sell products, it's used to sell ideas. So this is where she's one of the founding fathers, you could say, of the sexual revolution and feminism. This lady here. So before she worked for Cosmopolitan, she worked at a newspaper. They told me I could only work 5 months into my pregnancy and then I had to quit.
Wow.
So this
We hate mothers,
this
is what they're saying.
no, this was a newspaper that she wrote for said that she couldn't work while being a mom. So it's either
My point is newspaper. Maybe I'm just reading out of context.
I think it's a little bit out of context. I think it's more like that was still in a time where moms didn't work. She was pushing the idea that moms could work.
So their idea was it's like, we want for you to be able to raise your child and prepare
Exactly.
for your child. We want you to be at home and rather
Exactly.
than working. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so the year was 1969. Getting fired for being pregnant was a wake-up call for her. So she became a feminist. She kind of invented it a little bit. Women couldn't apply for credit in their own name. There was no help wanted ads for women. It was always for men. Women couldn't go to law school or medical school. There was a lot of discrimination towards women. That's why in the late 60s and early 70s, so many of women identified with the feminist movement. So being a feminist back then was very different than what it means today.
Okay. And this is where it's like, what, second, third wave, where it's like...
This is first wave, kind of.
Oh, this is first wave.
This is like,
okay.
we just want to work.
Right.
And now it's like, we hate men. And
Right.
feminist movement was fighting for equal opportunity. The sexual revolution, on the other hand, was fighting for all sorts of sexual freedoms. So the two became entwined through abortion. So let's see right here. I'm gonna skip a little bit. Unless you are a recognized authority on the subject, profound statements must be attributed to someone appropriate, even if the writer has to invent the authority.
Wow.
Try to locate things, some of the buildings, restaurants, nightclubs, parks, streets, as well as entire case histories in cities other than New York, even if you deliberately have to plant them elsewhere. Most writers live in New York. 90% of our readers do not. So that's talking about how she's lying. And then she's spreading propaganda. One of those cosmos was the idea that abortion was a woman's right. So this is where we get into the idea that abortion, ending a child's life, is a right.
People love to use that term right.
Right.
When in reality, a right is no more than a responsibility. We do have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness in the Constitution, but we have the responsibility to live in a moral way in society.
Yeah.
Part of the Constitution, this is obviously an American idea, but it stems from a biblical idea because the founding fathers were keeping that in mind when they created stuff. We have the responsibility to protect life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
And also we have the responsibility to act in a moral society and hold our government accountable.
Yeah, it really is the people holding the government accountable,
Right.
rather than the opposite.
But you see people like this take things even farther. You see, I have the right to housing. I have the right to medical aid.
Healthcare.
I have
all
the
that.
right to food, where it's like, wait a second, you're taking things too far, where it's like, so you're saying I have the right to consume something that I did not myself work for. I have the right to medical aid. I have the right to
You have the
housing.
right to somebody else's
Right.
work.
Right. If you didn't, yeah, exactly. It's
Which you don't
continuing
have.
on.
You have the right to freedom to your own responsibility.
Right. You have the right to life and the right to potential, but no one owes you anything.
Yeah. So this is where things change for Broder. At 27, she was happily married with 2 children at home. When she became pregnant with a third, she and her husband decided to get an abortion
Wow.
the year after Roe v. Wade was passed.
Ooh. Wait, so you're saying she has 2 children?
So she has 2 kids.
No, what? Imagine
And
telling your
she got
kids
an
that.
abortion.
Yeah, we just didn't like your younger brother Timmy, so we tried to murder him.
Well, here's what she says. Keep in mind, she's falling for her own propaganda.
Oof.
The idea that the sexual revolution, women want to work, women want to be men, essentially.
Yeah. The worst parts of men.
She fell for her own propaganda, and she says this: I did not realize what a traumatic experience that would be later in my life. How much that would haunt me.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Guilt is a terrible, terrible thing to burden.
Right.
and there's 1.3 million abortions every year.
Yeah.
That's 1 million women every year that have to hold this guilt.
Guilt is actually somewhat of a blessing. Guilt is basically
It pushes you
it's
to
a conviction of sin that pushes you to hopefully Christ and repentance. But it is a terrible thing to suffer through.
Yeah. So she wrote a book about it, about how she pushed this propaganda of abortion and how she made it really popular. And what it was a false promise, that women would be happier not having children and they'd be happier working.
I wonder what they were citing in terms of that lie of this will make you happier. It was obviously a new idea, so were they just pulling it out of thin air and saying this will make you happier? On what data? On what?
Yeah, I don't know what pushed him to it. I'm not sure. But what's interesting is she says here, because keep in mind she's a Catholic now. She did come to faith.
Interesting.
In order to do better, Browder says, pro-life women must reclaim the feminist movement for themselves. This is what I hinted at earlier when I said that a real feminist movement would be a Christian women movement where we love children.
Yeah.
We have children. Be fruitful and multiply. You know, that will bring contentment.
What is it? Proverbs 31 talks about a woman who girds herself with strength and works at home and works, she gathers different things and she produces stuff in the household. I think a lot of this, comes down to culturally, with the Industrial Revolution, basically stripping production outside of the home. And now it's an apartment with a TV and Netflix. It's no longer... We have a homestead. We have 5 family businesses. We have children running as a salesman. We have like a strong family
name empire,
right?
Sort of.
Yeah, an empire. We interact with the community. There's none.
The Joss farm. Whatever it is. I mean, you just asked earlier. Like, I want to see data on why women started. What was the push for all this propaganda and everything? Well, right here it says, hijacking the women's movement for money. Why was Cosmo so successful? Because it attracted advertisers. Why did it attract advertisers? Because it worked. When a young woman, insecure young woman, read the magazine and thinks she has to have perfume, cosmetics, hair products, beautiful clothes, singles travels, abortions, contraception. When she has to have all of these things, she's going to be spending money.
Yeah. That's just greed and lies and Satan working at, Satan is a tempter, right? Yeah. Nothing can cause us to sin. We ultimately, as people, make the decisions in our heart to do so, but Satan will use everything he can to tempt us and appeal to our most human sinful desire, which is pride and selfishness and greed. Yeah, greed is pretty heavy. Now here's the other side of it. I say, so this is her now. She's 74. On the other hand, yes, we are free. We could go to college. We could get a degree. We could be doctors, lawyers, engineers. So they made it in the sense. Right. We could do all this stuff. We could make all this money. But she pauses, looking at the iPhone on her kitchen table. How are we liberated if our girls have got that in their pocket before they can even think? And I just want to say is, are you really free if you just have a lot of money and vice and awards and certificates? Are you really... Well, what is freedom? Freedom is not only just freedom in a vacuum. I'm free to hit you. I'm free to do whatever I want. No, I have the freedom to live a moral life. Yeah. To live a fulfilling and hard-working life. That's really what freedom is. Freedom to fulfill the commandments and obey Christ. Yeah. And I just want to say, like, you do have the freedom to do all that stuff, but is it bringing contentment? There are going to be... I said this last week when we were talking about how people today hate children, is that there's going to be a lot of people dying old and alone with no kids to take care of them in a home somewhere, some retirement home. And it's just, that's it. They have their stuff. They have their TV. They have their phone. They have whatever it is they want, all their subscriptions. They have jewelry, and they're going to die. And what happens to those things? Nothing. Yeah. There's no lineage. Yeah. There's no love. There's no actual contentment with that. Yeah, and the contentment just blinds people to the gospel. And it just keeps them just in the lust of the flesh and keeps them blinded. Yeah. So yeah, let's
talk about the hope, I guess. The hope is that we can overturn Roe v. Wade.
Not that we need to continue living in obedience to Christ.
It would be nice if a lot of people in the womb stopped dying for no reason other than because they're considered a hindrance. And another thing, I had a Christian friend reach out to me and he said, I don't ever want to see another abortion, but I don't want Roe v. Wade overturned.
What?
Because then there will be a lot of illegal and dangerous abortions. First of all, every abortion is dangerous because, a child dies. Second of all, good. In a very sick and kind of ridiculous way, what happened to responsibility for bad actions? It's similar to saying, that person, he's going to get drunk and I want him to get drunk. That's okay, but I don't want him to hurt himself. Well, he's made that choice already.
Right.
He's probably going to hurt himself if, it's very mean, but I think negative consequences are a good thing if you do something negative.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
saying.
And even the argument that people will continue to have abortions in an illegal way, people will always find a way to do what is evil.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean
prohibition.
that we should, that doesn't mean that we should allow evil to remain rampant.
We should,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a better
example.
Yeah. Keep talking. I'll think of one.
Well, the easiest one is just like, there's one on drugs. You could do just like theft, where it's like we should make, wouldn't it be better if thievery was just made legal? It's bad enough that people already steal stuff. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It just, what's the idea there? Is that abortion will still happen?
We should have safe abortions.
That was the original.
Should we have safe murders? Should we have safe stealing, safe suicides? Like it's like you can't have a safe evil thing.
Yeah.
But then they're going to have abortions and it's going to be unsafe. That's what you get for doing something wrong. That's what you get for doing something terribly, terribly wrong and evil.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously...
should they get a pat on the back?
And that's a good argument for Christians not just stopping at overturning Roe v. Wade. We should be literally setting up community centers, which is happening all across the countries. Some of them right next to Planned Parenthood. We should be continuing and appealing to people, not just because it's illegal to do so.
I'm definitely tired of the people who say Christians are just pro-birth. It's like we're adopting at twice the rate that you are.
Yes.
Also, it says in James 1, verse 27, says, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit the orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. We should always have mothers, children, widows on our mind. How can we help them? What can we be doing to help them? Adopt them. That's a start. Adoption. So that I think 38% of practicing Christians have thought about adoption. That should be 100%.
Yeah.
Let's make it 100% of Christians should start thinking about adoption seriously.
Yeah.
Let's get those numbers up. Adoption's a good thing. But that's you're totally right. Is we don't stop at Roe v. Wade ending and then we
absolutely
go,
not.
Yay, we're done. Then turn a blind eye.
The bare minimum should be to criminalize abortion. The goal is to have come alongside every mother who is
helping these women, giving them the gospel, sharing the gospel, but also helping them through their pregnancy. Yeah. And maybe they'll want to keep that child, but if not, they can still adopt that child.
I guarantee you, if I think there's like ultrasounds and stuff. Like number one, if a woman sees a child in the womb, I think it's like 70-80% choose life.
I remember hearing something about that. Was like having the ultrasound and
a lot of it comes down to if you educate the woman and basically show her that yes, it is a life and yes, it's viable and yes, all of this different things. They'll choose life because it's written in their hearts that human life is valuable. And when they recognize, oh my goodness, I've been lied to, this is another human being and it's my child.
That's what it is the law of God is written on everyone's hearts, no matter what. There's a reason why normal people, I have to keep saying normal people because some people are insane, but why normal people look at another person and see them as created in the image of God.
Yeah.
That is why we stopped slavery, was because we said we can't be doing this to people created in the image of God. Yeah. That is why we fought against the Holocaust, and that is why we had to fight against
abortion.
This legal Holocaust that's even worse than the Holocaust by millions.
Yes.
63 million abortions, roughly 11 million in the Holocaust. So 6 times the amount.
Yeah.
And we have to end it. We have to end it.
Yes.
And then help these people. And this
get them
this
connected
is
with the people who are waiting in line for adoption.
This is more general. More general. It's not very specific on adoption and abortion. But how about we stop being Christians on Sundays and start being Christians every day of the week?
Yeah.
How about that?
Call to
How about let's
action.
take it serious and actually live out our faith like we're supposed to, instead of just go to church on Sundays and then be super mean and rude and judgmental the rest of the days. We should be helping those people all the time.
Yeah. It reminds me of a story, and I'm trying to remember if it is a specific Bible verse or it's just it was taught by someone in the church, but basically the idea that who is the most obedient son? Someone who says when their father asks them to do something, they said, "Yes, Father, I'll do that," but then they don't. Or the father or the son who says, "No, I won't do that," but then later goes and is obedient to his father. I can't remember what's.
No, I remember what you're talking about.
But the idea is basically go and be obedient. Go and live in the world and go act as a Christian. Don't just say, "Oh yes, I'm a Christian, but I only come on Sunday. I only go to church on Sunday. I only participate." No, go. Yes, be vocal. Yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I follow Christ, but go and be that in the world.
Yeah, and I just want to call to action all the people who call themselves Christians, and I know a couple of them, but are pro-choice. It's like, whoa, you need to really realign yourself with the Bible on that one. God is pro-life.
Amen.
Jesus was pro-life. He said that these children, they're going to be in the kingdom of heaven.
Let the little children come unto me.
That's something I did want to mention, and I was saving it for later.
The hope part, yeah.
The hope part is, and I have to look into this more. I don't have.
There could be a discussion on this.
Yeah,
obviously.
There's a discussion for it. I don't have extreme position on this yet, but at least John MacArthur believes that all the aborted babies are in heaven. All of them. All the miscarriages, the aborted babies, stillbirths, they're all in heaven. And he says, because there's verses that talks about how the kingdom of heaven is filled with children. You know, Jesus loves babies, children. He's the only one. They're the only people that he calls innocent. Children are innocent, which people talk about the age of innocence, and that's a whole other discussion.
Right.
But Jesus says that it's better for him to, drown than cause these little ones to sin. The kingdom of heaven is filled with children from all over the earth. And so John MacArthur has a personal conviction that all the aborted babies will be in heaven. And I think I'm more on that side.
Yeah.
And I'm still working through all that. I mean, it's something to think about.
What an amazing blessing.
Yeah. Now that doesn't mean let's go abort all babies so that they'll immediately go to heaven. No, that's stupid, because that is a direct sin, because the first commandment was be fruitful and multiply.
Yep.
And I forgot to
not be fruitful and kill all your children.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but actually every human on earth fits in Texas with 1,200 square feet. So before you say, "Oh, there's climate change and the food crisis and the methane gas," whatever. No, there isn't enough room on this planet. It says in Genesis, brother, excuse me. It says in, I believe, Genesis 6, that while the earth exists, God's going to take care of it. Yeah. Springtime, fall time, harvest, winter, it's all going to be okay. Yeah. That's why climate change, I mean, I know over the past 100 years, it's gotten 1 degree hotter. But I think God's a little bit bigger than 1 degree of heat. And I think he can... It's not a sin to populate the earth. No. That's a direct command. Yeah. So logically, are we somehow ruining the earth.
Well, people would
by
say
producing
it is a
more
sin to
people.
produce because carbon emissions, the worst thing you can do is have a child. And that's what you're seeing right now. It's just the satanic ideology of the left.
Yeah,
it's
and
basically
it's
that don't have kids, mutilate yourselves, be androgynous.
Stop eating beef, and it's always
Oh
the
my
same
gosh.
people that buy a beach house. It's always the same people that, like, the politicians that are buying beachfront property,
completely
even though everything's going to come underwater, and
Right.
and it's the same people that need private jets because they're more important than we are. It's like, okay, get over yourself. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. This is Jack.
Yep.
I'm Dryden. Thank you so much for watching Point Blank. Please, there's all the links in the description so you can follow my TikTok. Please like and subscribe because that really helps me out. If you're listening on audio, give us a thumbs up so that more people can listen to this. Also, share this with your friends. Again, every Friday, trying to upload an episode every Friday.
Yep.
Join the Discord if you want to be able to hang out with us, or at least me, more often and ask questions. I'm always available. So thank you so much for watching. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. You might be seeing a little bit more of me. We'll see. We're trying to figure out our schedules.
Yeah, trying to work it out. I'm filming this at a weird time because my work schedule. I have a full-time job now,
Yeah.
which is good, but I also want to put more effort into this.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you guys. I'll see you all later.
See ya.
Goodbye.